First week with only 3 clients to the 8th week, I was already training about 50 clients. About being able to market yourself and put yourself out there in the gym. I remember spending time at the gym from 5 a.m. in the morning all the way to 10 p.m. at night just to be able to have the opportunity to gain clients, right?
All they know is this clubbing party. It's just like, yeah, if I want to have fun, I'll hang out with you. No worries, no problem, yeah? But if I want to sort of focus on my own career, my own pathways, I'm hanging out with these guys, yeah.
Porn is one of the big things that ruins relationships.
Porn was designed as a tactic to win wars, right?
Welcome to another episode of the Path Talk Show. And today I actually have my new co-host. His name's Emmanuel Santoso. I've known him for such a long time, since he was like a little kid. So it's amazing to see him grow up to being a fine young man who is quite entrepreneurial. He actually runs his own PT business and he's going off to do some extraordinary things.
Yes, it's good to be on this show. Justin, thank you for inviting me. I really do appreciate it. It's been, we've known each other for quite a bit of time, yeah. So, yeah, it's crazy how like everything has turned out.
Yeah, it has, and like it's funny how I met your brother first that brought me to your house, and I think the first time I went to your house, that's when you were only like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah. I remember, one time you were over at my house, like, I think this is during the time when you were like, fully competing in wrestling and all. Time where we wrestled on my brother's bed.
That's right.
He always pushed me out the window. I remember that day. That was actually.
I remember you were saying RKO all the time, which was funny. And I was like, you were trying to give me an RKO, and I was just holding you there, and I was going to throw you, and you almost went out the window. I was like, oh crap, where is he going? Many good memories.
Yeah, we've made some good memories there. But
definitely.
It was really good, and especially like my brothers, especially my sister from church as well, which was you definitely expanded like that sort of connection with them as well. So yeah,
it's quite interesting, especially because I used to live in Canada for a good year and a bit, and I was just over there competing all the time in freestyle wrestling, and I just remember going through some difficult period where I was dating this girl, right, and we were dating for almost about a year. And I was about to compete at the final Olympic qualifiers after winning this Olympic qualifiers, which was at the Oceania Championships.
Right.
And after that event, she actually ended up breaking up with me.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and I just remember feeling devastated, right? So I was back in Sydney at the time, and I was like, you know what? I have to go back to find out why. And I did. And during that phase of coming back, the training wasn't on, so I was stuck in my own thoughts. And I was feeling depressed. I was going down a bad rabbit hole where I couldn't get out.
Yeah.
And I really struggled. But I remember after that, I was like, you know what? I come to terms with it. I need to move back to Australia. And once I came back to Sydney, that's when I got in contact with Gabriel, on the day. And then he invited me to your church, and I felt that really helped me because it built my connection with God in a whole new level. Because,
for sure. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I could definitely sort of relate to that, especially with a few friends of mine. One of them who's going through a difficult time when it comes to relationships, right? He's making, he's making all this money. He's got the car of his, of his dreams. He has savings. He's in good health and all that. But the only thing he struggles with, right, is a relationship, right? Usually, we often find ourselves in these moments where we always want more, right? We always want more, and even though he has all these things, right, the one thing that makes him upset is just that he couldn't find the right girl, and it's pretty unfortunate. But until he was able to break that connection with that girl, I told him, just come with me. Let's go to church. Let's just hang out. Try to find some answers. So, one thing that he wanted to work on is his, spiritual life, spiritual direction. And when he went to my church, I introduced him to a few of my church friends as well. And he felt this different energy, this different vibe, right? And he was telling me he was explaining it to me that he never felt this. Never felt such a connection before. So it's pretty strange. After coming from a rough time, a difficult moment in your life, going to somewhere where is sort of put you in that state where it's like, oh, it hits you right in your heart, right?
It does.
It's pretty crazy. Like, even myself, I've been through that stage, and that's how I went back into, sort of improving on my faith, and that's what happened to one of my friends, and it's a beautiful way to see such a thing happen, like.
Oh, absolutely. And it hit me in the heart there. And it's so true when your heart is feeling that hit.
Yeah, it's like a vulnerability.
Jesus communicating with you.
Yeah, that's right.
And opening you up to that vulnerability, exactly what you said.
That's right.
And I can understand what your friend went through, because I went through the same thing where I struggled to, like, find a relationship after my previous one where I wasn't quite a toxic relationship, and I experienced things that usually a lot of people have gone through at least once in their life.
Right, yeah.
And for about quite a few years, I struggled to be able to commit to a relationship. Yeah, I might have went on a lot of dates, but when it went to that final stage of committing into the relationship, I couldn't do it. And I feel in recent times, God has helped a lot with that, where he heals your heart.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And helps you find yourself in a way of going on the right path. And I feel because of him is the reason why I'm actually podcasting, which is a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, 100%. It's beautiful. And that's a beautiful way to sort of put that experience out there as well. Definitely, 100% there's a lot of people that has experienced such a similar outcome such as yourself, right? But the only thing is they don't know how to make this sort of steps in order to fulfill that sort of emptiness inside of them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And throughout your journey, when did you decide you wanted to become a personal trainer?
Well, at first it was actually a pretty it was a confusing moment in my life where I didn't know what to do with my life. Like, I didn't know how am I supposed to, make money, how am I supposed to, pursue something that I love, right? At first, I was just, back in school, I was just listening to my teachers, I was like, oh, why don't you, if you're doing these subjects, focus on something that could lead towards a similar career way where it connects with your subjects, right? And you do good in these subjects. I'm like, yeah, but I don't think I'd want to pursue this in these sort of subjects, yeah? And one of them were like paramedics, and like that's something that, yeah, I did want to pursue at one stage, but I couldn't see myself in that sort of field. But after learning a lot more about just self-development, being able to grow and improve in your character, that's when I found out that what do I enjoy? What do I enjoy doing? Yeah, and at the time, I enjoyed training. I enjoyed going for a run early in the morning, sprinting up on the hills and all that, training, doing calisthenics, right? And I was like, you know what? I enjoy doing this a lot more, right? So I decided I want to focus on a career where it's sort of in fitness, right? And to see from there. And I know fitness is such a broad, sort of industry, yeah?
It is.
Got so many options there, right? I just wanted to start off from there. So I started to improve on my calisthenics, try to improve on my physique. So once I sort of get the certificate of a personal trainer, once I become certified, then I can start, teaching, and I already got the foundation, right? And yeah, so basically just being able to pursue something that I truly love, which was fitness, and that's how I got into that stage of personal training. And I've got some of my mates who are, sort of, what's it called? Who are sort of have that passion of fitness, yeah, and I've got them around me and they support me a lot, and as well as some of them who are trying to become personal trainers or think about being personal training, I sort of give them my story on how I was able to become one. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I can relate to that 100% because I know in my previous life I was a personal trainer as well. And it's quite funny. I remember doing a PT course, and there was a guy who was the founder of Vision Personal Training. His name was, I think, Alex Simmons, something around that name. And he was a professional marketer. And I just remember sitting in front with a pen and paper, and I was writing every single thing that he was saying. Because it was like gold. It's like, you know what? You need to train a hairdresser for free. Because if you train a hairdresser for free, they're going to talk. And from there, make sure you sit next to the membership advisors. So from there, they're able to promote you and your PT services. It's like, you know what? That's a great idea. So what I did when I became a personal trainer, so I decided to sit next to the membership advisors, trained one for free, and then I ended up training all the membership advisors. And then from there, I went from the first week with only 3 clients to the 8th week, I was already training about 50 clients.
That's pretty good.
Just from listening to that guy's advice about being able to market yourself and put yourself out there in the gym. I remember spending time at the gym from 5 a.m. in the morning all the way to 10 p.m. at night just to be able to have the opportunity to gain clients, right? And it was quite interesting to the point where I was starting to burn myself out quickly. I was like, okay, how can I progress off this? And then I started operating through systems and started using this thing called Trainerize, which is from there I was able to write programs and I could kind of pull myself away from it. But I just remember towards the end, I ended up burning out fairly quickly because it was kind of hard to juggle about 50 to 60 sessions a week.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
But like, I admire what you do because it's not an easy gig, and a lot of people think PT is an easy job where it's not.
It's not. There's a huge there's a huge side of it that people often forget, which is like getting those clients, and as well as like overworking yourself as well. With me, when I first started doing personal training, I struggled very, for the first 3 months. So basically, before personal training, I was working at a warehouse job, and it wasn't a job that I wanted to sort of pursue in, right? It's not like my perspective on all this was, it's good money, it's good, it does well, it's, I'm able to, save money and all that, but at the end of the day, this is not where I want to be, right? I don't want to be working at a warehouse. I want to be known working, anywhere near a warehouse. I'm not saying it's a bad job, right? Yeah. It's a good start job for, someone who's coming out of high school, but I don't want to rely on this, right? So at the time, I wanted to pursue personal training, but I never had the guts to just stop everything and just do it, right? And it's pretty crazy how it all happened, because the time when I decided to start personal training was the time when I lost my driver's license, which is it was such an experience, and it definitely put me in the deep end, and like I felt like I was at the bottom of the barrel, like I had nothing. That's what it felt like. And it was during the winter time as well, right? So in order for me to get to the gym, I had to ride my bike, and usually I had clients that wanted to do personal training at 5 a.m. I had to wake up at like 3:30 just to get ready, leave the house by 4, bike ride to the gym, and it was a very tough time for me. And with me, like, I didn't like the cold then, but now I love the cold now just because of that. And I felt all I was repeating that time when David Goggles was going on a run, 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning. He's like, if you look at my left side, there's not a single car on the road. My right side, nothing. That's what I was thinking every time. But the first 3 months of PTing was definitely a rough time just in order to get there. Getting clients wasn't too difficult, right? It wasn't too difficult because I stood out at the gym. I was doing calisthenics. I was able to get the eyes of people, right? I was able to sort of connect with a lot of people, and some of them were actually able to jump on board and PTing, and I was like, okay, yeah, sweet. Got to teach them some calisthenics, got them doing handstand muscle-ups. Some of my clients already do muscle-ups now, starting to do handstands, and it's just amazing, right? And they're still with me till this day. So, and like they know the journey that I've went through, and it's pretty inspiring.
It is, and I love it because in personal training, you actually fast track someone's progress because you've already been there, you've seen everything that works and everything that doesn't work.
Yes.
And you're able to help them succeed so much faster than you ever did. And that's how I see as myself giving back to the wrestling community now. And I had a big, like, I don't know what you call it, revelation that a big thing with me coaching now, I want to make my athletes better than I ever was. Giving them opportunities that I wish I had. And being able to put them down that path is the most fulfilling thing that I could ever do in terms of being able to give back for the sport that has given everything to me. And I feel that is my purpose at this moment when it comes to giving back as a coach.
It's like you're leaving a legacy.
That's it.
That's it, yeah. And that's the same thing with myself, but with me, like as a 20-year-old, right? Me teaching calisthenics to some of my clients, right? For me, if it's a bit different. It gives a competitive nature for me. So I'm very competitive. Yes, I'm teaching you these things, but like, once I see you starting to progress, further and further, I'm like, oh, you know what? No, that's not happening. All right, I'm going to start training even harder now. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. It's like just friendly competition. Yeah. Sometimes I do train with my clients, right? And we often have these challenges, and it's pretty exciting. It's pretty unique, right? You don't see like that many coaches that do like sort of challenges, especially in calisthenics. It's just funny. But with me, I can sort of see where you're coming from and how you train with your team, right? And with myself, like it feels like a friendly competition. You're trying to leave a legacy, and maybe when I'm a bit older, I'm able to inspire just the next generation.
Absolutely.
Calisthenics.
And I love what you said. Compete with your students or your clients, and I feel exactly the same, because in Latin, competition means conspire, to work together to achieve something. And if you are working together, them pushing you as well as you pushing them, you're both going to benefit. You as a sensei are going to progress so much more as a coach 100%. As well as an athlete, just because you're guiding these people on the same path as your journey.
100%. Yes, you're basically being a leader.
That's right? It.
And that's how you're supposed to, that's how you're supposed to lead, and then as well as inspire, leave a legacy.
That's it. It kind of reminds me of this meme I've seen in previous times of there's two different type of coaches. The one that sits on the sideline that's overweight, and then you have one that had Mike Tyson's body who was like fit, and is working with their clients. And there's a big difference between the two.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of memes like that. There's even like when it comes to businesses, companies as well. You got people who has a boss and people who has a leader, right? A boss is just there, just sitting, smoking, probably smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol and all that. Does not take any responsibilities for anything, right? Just let everything run as it is, right? Yeah, tell people what to do. Whereas the person who leads, they're actually working with them, right? And that's how it should, sort of should be, right? Because like it shows like a bit of disrespect, like let's say you don't want to learn off someone who's, it's like hypocritical, yeah. You don't want to learn off someone who's saying these things, who has all this knowledge and who's probably qualified for teaching, right? But they're not applying it in their own lives, right?
It's so funny because I was watching a podcast today, and when I read this Bible verse, it resonated so much to what you just said. A lot of people show their cup is clean on the outside, but on the inside, it's usually dirty.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they're not putting in that work that is necessary for them to be able to lead. Yeah. They're more hypocritical of others rather than actually them working in their own house first before helping others.
That's right. And you get that a lot throughout throughout the world, honestly. I can see that a lot now. At first, I thought that, when I first started working on my own self-development, right, I wasn't very, I didn't know about this hypocritical side, right, until I actually became a hypocrite myself. And I would admit that, right? Yes, I had all this knowledge, right, but I didn't apply it to my own life until I got a full reality check last year, which was when I lost my license and all that. That's when I was like, all right, that's when I started to work on myself. I'd completely forgot about everything and just literally focused on just improving on my own self, improving on my business, and as well as my relationships with my family, with my partner, with my friends, all of that. And yeah, I've realized that you can have so much knowledge, right? And it's pretty scary because you can hide, basically with all this knowledge and all this wisdom and this experience that you have, you can literally hide that you don't apply that in your own life. So you can literally be a hypocrite, and it's pretty scary.
Yeah,
you can catch yourself in that sort of position.
Yeah, I agree. I have this saying is like, knowledge without execution is just mental masturbation.
Yes.
But knowledge with execution equals power. So if you are doing the both, you're going to be leading towards the right direction, right?
100%.
Where a lot of people are just nowadays, because in previous times I had a podcast called Millennial Success, and I was interviewing all these different entrepreneurs, and you could see the ones that are extremely successful compared to the ones that don't, because a lot of people nowadays, they tend to put like a front cover of their life. They show they're as successful as these other entrepreneurs that are extremely successful, but that's just a cover. It's not who they really are. They're actually struggling behind the scenes, and I really hope one day that a lot of people are more vulnerable in terms of where they're at, and knowing the fact is okay to start at that level.
Yeah, exactly.
And progress forward, because it's like the underdog story. Everyone appreciates the underdog. And if you don't do that and you continue to throw out lies, people are hypocritical compared to not wanting to sign up for your course, because people have like a big bullshit detector, knowing the fact that this person is lying. Probably you see people online now where they're promoting their products, but you're not buying into it. Right?
Yeah.
And I've spoken to quite a few people that made 9 figures and also a few billionaires. And the conversation, you rarely talk about money. And they're some of the most humble people you ever talk to. And you feel that warmth in their presence.
Yeah.
Which is quite different.
100%. Especially with myself, during last year, I embraced every mistake, every failure I've faced, every obstacle course, every challenges, right? And the thing that I struggled the most was, even though I was able to get, clients after clients, I was able to sign up a few more clients, get online clients, people can only see the outside, right? They could only see the success in you, right? They don't see the struggles in you. And I feel like that's what a lot of people struggle with, especially when they become hypocrites. They tell out these lies because they feel that pressure, because everyone's seeing the success of them, right? Which I could sort of understand, but as well as you got to remember to yourself that you got to appreciate, where you're at, right? Yes, you may be struggling right now, but have a little bit of gratitude and be grateful of the things that you've achieved from the past, right? And look in the present moment, just apply the same thing. It's just in a different sort of scenario, right? And that's what I did, especially when I came up with my business. And I know that I haven't even reached my limit yet, right? Maybe surpassed it. I don't know, but it's just when it comes to that sort of stage of telling yourself lies, right? You just gotta realize, you gotta catch yourself in that moment. It's like, why are you telling these lies? Why are you telling lies? Are you insecure about this? About where you're at? You gotta sort of embrace it, right? Because once you embrace it and you accept it, move on, right? It avoids that period of you dwelling in that sort of that flow that you're in, right?
So. Absolutely. It's funny because I remember having this conversation with your brothers. I think you were only 16 at the time. I was like, I promise you, your brother is going to become a entrepreneur. I can see it now, just the way he is communicating with me. It's quite entrepreneurial, and I can see you have a bright future ahead of you. You're only 20 years old, and you have such a long way to go.
Of course, yes. And, just planning throughout every single month, every single day, just what I need to get done. There are a few struggles that I will face, and even till this day I still face. But as long as I'm able to plan that out right now, right, later down the track, that won't be a problem for me, right? So being able to accept challenges right now, so I don't have to face them later on, so in 5 years' time, that's sort of my my goal right now, right? The way I'm taking things at the moment. And as well as one thing that I would say is being able to surround myself with like-minded people. So what I've noticed right now is that I'm not hanging around with people who are sort of my age, right? I've realized that I'm hanging out with a lot of people who are a lot older, but they have more experience, they have more wisdom, and they understand what struggle is, what pain is, and what suffering is, right? Whereas some of my friends, these days, and I love them to death, of course, but the thing is, all they know is this clubbing party. It's just like, if I want to have fun, I'll hang out with you. No worries, no problem, yeah? But if I want to sort of focus on my own career, my own pathways, I'm hanging out with these guys,
Yeah. Well, that's what you expect from most 20-year-olds nowadays. Yeah, a lot of them are going out, partying, experiencing life. And I think that's what's going to separate you from the pack of people, because you're actually focusing on building on yourself, surrounding yourself with the right people. You are the 5 people you surround yourself with every single day, right? So there's this analogy that I love. I like to think I made it up, but I know I definitely didn't. I call it the 30% rule.
Yep.
So if you're surrounding yourself with 30% of people that are higher than you, that already achieve the things that you'd like to achieve, they're going to help you progress so much faster through that mentorship. And then you have that 30% of people around the same level as you, the people that you're going to be grinding with and experiencing that world of hardship through your successes, etc. And then you have the 30% that are below you, the ones you educate, the one you pass on your knowledge. And like we spoke about earlier, the ones you can eventually compete with because they inspire you to become a better person than you once were.
Yes. And that's actually pretty true as well. I've never really sort of got to see that sort of perspective, actually, so now I just learned something here. But one of my friends, I used to hang out with him a lot back in school, and we used to do some, crazy stuff, right? And this is just us being young and just having fun, right? But I decided to separate myself from him because I know that it wasn't very helpful for me, especially within things what I want to focus on, right? I had to sort of distance myself. Not completely like tell him to go away, but just, distance myself really. And until I started doing the things that I do, and he was able to see, what sort of moves I've been doing, right? And how I'm like literally being like a complete man of my word. Like when I said I was going to do something, I did it, and he saw it, He came up to me the other day and he said that he wanted to change, right? And when I heard that, I'm like, it's pretty weird from you, like for you to say like you wanted to change. Like, what made you think that, right? And he's been put into like, life has been testing him, right? He's been seeing it often. He's being very mindful about it. And he opened up to me saying like, I've been going through this, I've been going through that. And I'm just like, all right, okay. How about this, right? Go out for lunch, right? Tell me from there, right? And hearing everything that he has told me, it sounded like where I was at like 4 years ago. And I was just like, man, you went to the right person, honestly. Like, and it sort of gives me a reality, or not reality check, but it gives me a glimpse of the past, my old self. And I'm like, man, I used to struggle through this, these things, and now these guys are struggling. Now I'm able to inspire, and that's what I love doing. I love inspiring like my friends. I love inspiring like new people, people that I just met. Some of them have seen my Instagram, some of them have known me from word of mouth. Just hearing all of this, it's truly inspiring. Like it brings me joy. Yeah,
it does.
Especially with like mental health as well. Like for those who are struggling in mental, just mentally, right, who are going through sort of depression, and those who, and they overcome that sort of state, right? Being able to share that with people, and then, like, you don't know what people are going through these days, right? If you're able to share that, that can really inspire that person to become sort of more yourself, right? So
I agree, and it kind of goes into one of my questions that I'm going to ask, because I want to get your perspective, and I'll share my perspective on it. What are some common triggers of self-doubt and insecurities that people are struggling with?
Well, yeah. So insecurities is a big thing, and a lot of people are like, that's when it comes to like what we spoke about before, like who hide behind lies and all that, right? The things that trigger it, I'd say it's just from, yes, like self-doubt, talking yourself down on yourself. Like, we've all made mistakes. We've all done some, pretty stupid things in our lives, right? And once we dwell in that, right, we become insecure, yeah? It really impacts our confidence, right? It impacts our, our own self-worth, right? And dwelling on that isn't going to get us anywhere, right? Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate, is we've all done, like I said, we've all done some stupid things that we're not very proud of, right? And maybe we do have bad habits, but being able to catch yourself in that time or in that period where you're like, oh, I messed up here, right? How are you going to fix it, right? Rather than dwelling on it and be like, oh man, I can't believe I did this, I can't, People who, sort of get their emotions, the best of their emotions, right? That's when they start dwelling in these things, right? Whereas if you catch yourself and you're like, all right, I messed up here. What do I need to do in order to make a change, right? That's when you have to start planning. You have to start thinking. You have to start getting some answers, right? Getting answers from people who you look up to, right? And I guarantee you that these guys has went through the same exact situation as you have, right? So looking for answers, being able to sort of reflect onto your own actions, right? When it comes to your own insecurities, embracing them and accepting them for what they are, right? Because it's not a failure. It's not, a time where you give up, because, that's where you're going to dwell on things, right? Being able to accept it, right, means that, all right, I've messed up here. What do I need to do in order to change and prevent this from happening again, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I feel another big thing that is bringing a lot of self-doubt and insecurity is social media. Is I feel a lot of people nowadays that are comparing themselves to one another. Seeing someone putting a certain type of lifestyle, and other people tend to feel like they're missing out and they are not worthy of who they are or the way they live. And you see a lot of people make certain posts about on Instagram on how great their life is, but a lot of people out there that are struggling, that wish they had these opportunities to do the same things. But sometimes that's just a front of some people's profiles, but it's not really what's going on in their life either. Yeah. So I feel for a lot of people where it's a struggle sometimes, because you feel like you are worthless as a human being. You feel like you were meant for more, but you just don't know how to put yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
And they just want to be able to go out there, make friends, live a beautiful lifestyle of their choice. But because they're stuck on their phones, they're not prioritizing what's important to them, which is family, their special friends, going to the gym, doing self-development, and all the other important elements will help them to chase their purpose. And because of that, I feel a lot of them have short attention spans now, and they're looking for that quick dopamine hit. A lot of them turn to porn, which is another big thing that a lot of people are going further down the spiral in depression, because they're wasting that dopamine over and over again, and they feel like they're out of energy. And they have nothing going for them. And you see a lot of people, porn is one of the big things that ruins relationships.
100%, yes.
And people out there that are staying single and not meeting women or meeting men or meeting whatever they're interested in, they're not putting themselves out there because they're wasting their testosterone on things that is unnecessary.
100%, yes.
Yeah.
I 100% agree on that. And like, you know, the fact that people turn to porn it's quite sad, especially in this, like, the society that we live in, right? Porn was designed in order to weaken men, right? It was designed to weaken men because it gets the best of, you know, our dopamine, right? That instant gratification, right?
That's right.
And I believe I've read this before, that porn was designed as a tactic to win wars, right? Especially back in like towards, you know, the Middle East and all that, right? Exposing that towards men, to the soldiers, right? You know, it clutters their mind, right?
Definitely does.
When it clutters their mind, right, they're not able to focus right? So by the time when they go to war, right, they don't know what to do, because all they're thinking is about, like, oh, you know, what they saw on the internet, right? You know, just pixels and, you know, just naked women. Like, they're not even like, they don't even know you.
Pixels.
Yeah. So it's a way that's destroying, you know, men these days, and that's why, like, women at this day and age, like, women struggles to find, like, good women struggles to find a man who's able to, you know, retain his dignity, right? Who has a purpose, because a lot of men are corrupted with porn, right? They don't know what to do when they see a girl around. They don't know what to do when they even speak to one, right? And it's pretty sad to see that. You know?
Absolutely. And it kind of reminds me of a book called Brain on Porn. It's a good book. And it talks a lot about how when people start watching porn, they started to feel like they're not getting as turned on as, like, watching normal porn. So a lot of them end up turning into watching, like, barkies and watching, like, huge party of people just having sex, like orgies, because that man and woman having, like, intimacy no longer does it for them.
Yeah.
And at home, when they're with their husband or their wife, they don't feel aroused because of that very reason, that just that one-on-one intimacy no longer does it for them.
Not enough for them, no.
Yeah.
I've read an article where they did this experiment where they've tested, like, you know, people who watches porn, right? So, you know, the more they watch porn, the more they dig a deeper hole, you know, the worse outcome it comes. So, like, basically, one-on-one intimacy, of course, doesn't even turn them on no more, right? But when they go towards a deeper hole where it becomes, like, let's say, you know, same-sex, like, porn and all that, like, then that's when, you know, you got things like mental health becomes a huge problem. Like, people don't even know what they like. People don't even know what they want, right? So digging in that deeper hole, right? So, like you said, going to orgies and then going into, like, these weird side and this dark stuff, right? It really corrupts the person's mind, and, you know, they become lost, right? And that, like, when I read that article, I could sort of see that within, like, some of my friends, right? Especially back in school. All these guys will often talk about these porn stars, like, oh yeah, this and that, oh, look at this, look at that. I'm like, bro, that's not it's not something you do around here, bro, and that's, like, embarrassing, you know. And I get it, you're young, it's something new, but, you know, knowing from all the books that I've read, from all the podcasts I've listened to, from all the people who I looked up to, you know, when I was fed information about how porn can really distract you from what you want to achieve, right? And being able to see that within, like, the people I hang around with, it definitely, you know, hurt me a lot, and it gave me this perspective and this idea of that, like, you know, porn was, like, literally the devil, right? Trying to overtake you.
It is, and it's pretty much a drug.
It is a drug as well.
It's quite addictive. And I feel a lot of people out there actually need to be able to seek help. If it's in their church or mosque, or even just go see a therapist, whatever works for you, you need to be able to go out and get that help, because you alone sometimes doesn't cut it, right? And I feel a lot of people out there now, we need to work on our communication skills, becoming better communicators, because I feel for us to be able to find that significant other, we need to be able to communicate, and we need to understand each other's love languages too.
Yeah.
Right? We need to understand, okay, because men and women we're two different creatures.
100%, yeah.
We see, we like. Women are more emotionally connected to the person they're spending time with. And once we get to understand each other's worlds, like, I feel that person's life can change completely, and they can make that shift away from watching porn and being able to embrace going on more dates, or finding a significant other where they can potentially get married and procreate as well.
Yeah, 100%. And like that's with my current relationship that I'm in right now, I'm 2 years in with my
Congratulations.
partner. Yeah, it's coming up next week actually. Yeah, it makes it 2 years. So it's definitely a new experience for me. Stepping into that world of relationships, being able to have a partner, right? I find that it's a beautiful experience in my life, right? And when growing up, being surrounded like with my mates who thought that, oh yeah, relationship marriage is a scam and all this and that, right? I'm just thinking, like, I used to like think like that, you know, but until experiencing it, I'm just like, wow, you know, this is my first relationship, and this has been like, you know, this has been the best part of my life, really. Yeah, you know, being able to have that polarity of masculine and femininity. Yeah, it's just a beautiful thing, right? And now, like, especially during the times where I've suffered, you know, the dark times of my life, you know, having my partner there for me, which helped me out a lot. And, you know, at first I always thought that, like, oh, yeah, women, yeah, this and that. I don't need a woman, you know. I can just focus and, you know, train and this and that, you know. All I need is the gym, you know.
I'm independent.
I'm independent, right? But it does help to have a woman around, and it, like, something so little, it can mean so much to you, and it does motivate you a lot, right? So
definitely, especially once you're in your masculine energy and you're driven by your purpose, having that feminine energy there, that submissive nature, it's quite relaxing, and it helps you to get into the right mind frame to actually enjoy life more.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's actually a funny story. Actually, when I first competed in calisthenics, which was the sets and reps, right? You know, it was my first competition. It was all right. Yeah, I did well, I guess, but I was pretty cut because I came like, I think 17th or something out of like 30 competitors, right? But this was before when I met my partner. But the second comp that I went to, it was 2 comps I was in. So it was like there was a sets and reps, and then there was another one which was a weighted endurance, right? So I had to do 20 kg pull-ups, 20 kg pull-ups, I believe 30 kg dips, and 40 kg push-ups for 35 reps, I believe. So there was a lot of reps, and when I was doing that competition, I actually came first. Yeah, and all I was thinking is that my missus is watching. She's watching. Angelina's watching, right? So I was like, oh, I got to impress her, you know. And I came first. I was like, oh man, I was happy with that. I came first in the sets and reps, and then the other comp, which was in 2022 October, it was another weighted calisthenics, right? So I had to do 1 RM, so max pull up, max dip, and then as well as an endurance set as well with weights. And I came first in that one as well. And it was because of her. Like, it was like, I was like, where did this energy come from, right? And it's because she's around, right? And then after another comp I had, you know, I came first in the sets and revs. You know, she was around. It just felt good just to have like that sort of support.
Definitely. And you're looking to make an impression too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the feeling. It's like, I know a few times in my previous life competing, especially if there's like a girl that's watching me.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? What move do you want me to do? During the competition, I was trying to execute the techniques just to be able to make a solid impression to her.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny. The states will go in order to reach a certain result just to be able to impress them.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then there was one time where my missus didn't come along, and I brought my brother, and I think that comp I came fourth. I was like, right, next time I need to bring Angelina along. Next time, no, there's not. I'm not letting this happen again. But yeah, it was it changes everything once you have like a significant person around you, especially if it's your partner or even a crush, right? And I think there's lots of memes out there when it's like, oh yeah, when you're at the gym and you see your gym crush there, or you're playing, you've got a game, a soccer game or a basketball game, and your crush is in the stands. You start to play a bit differently, right?
It does, because we have an increase of testosterone.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, we all look to be able to pass on our genes. And a big thing, in order to do that, we need to impress this person we're looking to pursue in marriage, or just to be able to pass on our genes.
Yeah, exactly.
And we end up having these higher level of testosterone, more than as per usual you would probably have. Hence why we perform so much better when it comes to competition.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And I feel like at this day and age, like before, when we was competing, right? And let's say we have that, that crush that we have, and I know that everyone can relate to this. Yeah, we have a significant crush that we all want to impress, right? We do like the most. We do so much, right? We tend to go all out, right? But I think that now these days, guys will like sort of get shy to do the things. They don't want to embarrass themselves, right? And that's when it comes back towards to the massive decrease of testosterone because of today's society,
and a lot of self-doubt and lack of confidence.
Yeah, and then that goes back towards your social media, right, and insecurities, right? So I tend to see that now, seeing how people tend to get shy, don't want to spread their wings, right? They want to stay covered.
Yeah, it's hard, especially a lot of people out there are introverts, and I can 100% relate to that because I'm an introvert, right? So it's hard to be able to put yourself out there and connect with people, because I know as a kid, obviously, my story, I had dyslexia and speech impairment, so I had this thing which is called proxia. So what I think and the way I speak doesn't always come out the way I think it to come out. Hence why I tend to jumble upwards from time to time. And I used to be worried about people judging me. I was always seeking validation of others.
Yes.
And I think a big thing nowadays, a lot of us tend to seek validation of others rather than stepping into our own person. And once we learn through being able to go through self-development, surrounding yourself with the right people, is the time when we actually gone to seek less validation and be more driven by purpose.
Yeah, 100%. That validation is a big thing. A lot of people tend to seek validation these days. And what I've realized is that I see it a lot in women. Oh, not women, like guys, like talking with women, right? I know a lot of people who, back in school, they were like that quiet person, that quiet guy, right? They're known for being this, this geek or nerd. Like, oh yeah, this guy gets high marks, and this guy must know nothing about girls. He hasn't got his first kiss, right? Hasn't even hugged a girl, right? It's crazy. And after that, it's quite funny because I bumped into one of my mates. Back in school, I knew that he was just this guy who just studies a lot and all that, right? And then when I bumped into again, like his whole character just changed. He's just like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, I'm like, you talk like that, bro, And
like a different persona.
Yeah, different persona now. So everything's changed. So when I was talking with with some of my friends, and even like just seeing it, them trying to hang out with women, trying to talk with women and all that, just to prove something, yeah. And it's sort of like, it's pretty like sort of lame to see that, right? And I see where they're coming from, and I see that yes, you come to that stage, probably people picked on you because, you never had never talked to a girl, and now you're talking to, all these girls, and, you're doing all these things, right? It shows that sort of, that you're trying to prove something, yeah?
Yeah. I feel at the start sometimes we need to be able to put ourselves out there and throw ourselves in those uncomfortable positions where we're communicating to a lot of women. And I think that's the important art of being able to communicate with women, is like a beautiful art of its own. And I know personally I've been there where I surrounded myself with one of my friends. At the time, he was a pickup artist. Now he's an entrepreneur, serving in Dubai, running like big entrepreneurial events.
Yeah.
And he was showing me on ways to get comfortable in my own skin. Because at first, we are all more validation seeking type of people. But once we really get ourselves out there and throw ourselves and just say sometimes the most bizarre things, like I remember I was even pointing out my own insecurities about my height, because I used to be very insecure about that.
Yeah.
But as soon as I said to one woman, I remember, I want to be like you when I grow up, it kind of killed that insecurity. It killed that self-doubt. But I understand that in the beginning of your journey, if you're looking to be able to work on speaking to women, but if you're like doing that until you're 40 to 50 years old,
then that's when it becomes
there's a big problem there.
Yeah, there's a line that you shouldn't cross, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's what I realized with like most guys. Like, yes, it's good, go out there. This is what I did with myself. Like, back in school, especially doing the things that I was planning to do, so like goal setting and all that, and self development. I never really spoke with women, right? Yeah, I've had like friends, but I never like spoken in a way where I wanted to sort of pick up, right?
Yeah.
Until I got to that stage of like, all right, I need to learn how to talk to a girl, right? I went out there, I explored, and just learning how to talk with women, it definitely increases your confidence, right? But in the back of my mind, I had a limit, right? Like when I say a limit is, not to go too far, right? Because remember, like, this is only just being able to talk to a woman, being able to talk to a girl, right? Not taking it further, right? Not being able to, show that disrespect or like sort of objectify them, right? It's just being able to talk to a woman. And because talking to a woman, through that, I was able to improve on my confidence. I was able to, get this sort of different sort of energy, right? And it made me like train even harder and boost up my confidence in every single aspect of my life, right? Everything anything I do, I was able to like do it 100%, because in the back of my mind, I was like, all right, I'm able to talk with women. It's just weird, right? But I think it's just for us guys. It's just in our nature, right? But I think now these days, with men these days, when we talk to women, we've been influenced with, with this sort of society where
we're treating them like objects.
Yeah.
And we're not treating them like human beings.
And it comes from our music or the people we hang out with, and going out to clubs, and that's where we tend to sort of mistaken the two, right? Talking to women, and then there's this side of talking to women, right? So
absolutely.
And now I see that, and people like for some reason like lean towards that rather than just the art of being able to talk to a woman, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The simplicity of talking to a girl, right?
Yeah, at first it's just about building confidence, being able to communicate. But I think after time, when you start feeling more comfortable in your own skin, you actually become yourself, the most vulnerable part of yourself. And a lot of people say, oh, just be yourself. But a lot of people don't know who they are.
Yes.
And they put this front cover where come off as like an act, and that's where they get labeled as a nice guy, and they get friend zoned and aren't able to make the conversations more intimate and be comfortable and make them feel relaxed in the situation of the date.
Yeah,
because
they're mistaken themselves. They put this mask.
They do.
Yeah,
but it's a hard thing unless you work on yourself to try to get out of that fake persona that you're actually carrying.
But yeah, basically that mask, that mask hiding all these insecurities, and basically putting a lie. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that's actually what I used to do, but not towards women. That's just towards like myself, like being able to talk with just with people, especially with me. I was very competitive, right? And one book that I stood by back then was the 48 Laws of Power. All I wanted to do was empower every single person, because I wanted to tell myself that I was the best of the best, right? No one could ever outwork me. No one could ever do the things that I can do, right? And yes, that pushed me, accelerated me so far ahead, right? Until I was humbled. Yeah, but back in the day, I used to just put this mask and just keep going forward, right? Hide myself behind, like hide all my insecurities, and just overcome all the challenges, and even the people who sort of hated on me, people who sort of like envied me, and that gave me fuel. And like hearing all these things about like, oh man, you can't do this, oh man, you suck, man. It was fuel, and that was my mask, right? And yes, it was a good thing. It was a good sort of mentality to have, right? But that was only temporary, right?
No, definitely. And I see it's like a video game at the end of the day. When you're heading towards the enemies, that's when you're in the right direction. If you don't have people talking about you, you're not really progressing yourself anywhere. If you're on that path of, let's say, becoming a leader or forming some type of influence.
Yeah, exactly.
But once you have people talking about you, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. You're on the right direction. You're on the right path. And I loved what you said. You become more humble when you put in the work. When you start achieving results, I know from personal experience, from accomplishing what I've accomplished in wrestling, you form a new form of humility. And sometimes a lot of people can't relate to that. But it's a beautiful place to be, and it shows that you are able to connect with anyone by being able to be humble.
Yeah, 100%. Being able to be being humble about these things, and with myself, the thing that humbled me was being able to take a few punches in the face, a loss, right? Being able to let go. One thing was letting go of the past, and knowing that you need to change, and that was a humbling experience. When at the time I had a few things that I noticed that I wasn't very proud of myself, right? And even though there were, it was good, and it sort of bring me joy, I knew I had to let go. And it was more of like the people that, the connections I've made, right? One thing was